We've started a new initiative at Kean Interior Design, and that's to focus on the mental health of our students. The ultimate goal is to redesign the 5th floor of the Green Lane Academic Building, and to do that, we need research. Assisting us is senior Carmen Santiago. Here's what she has to say about the topic. So tell me, Carmen, why are you interested in this topic?
I am very interested because I myself do have a neurologic condition. I have ADHD, and I have suffered in the past from not having the proper accommodations within my educational and learning environments. And so knowing that I personally have been through something where I feel like I wasn't being accommodated properly, and I just was having a mental and emotional setback because of it, it kind of gives me that push and makes me want to help the people who haven't been helped and just be that person that I didn't have back at the time, and just to bring more awareness to the design community as a whole.
How do you think the open plan layout of the 5th floor works for people with mental health issues?
So personally, they are very problematic, both for individuals with neurologic conditions and those without it. Simply, for example, not having enclosed environments and having floor to ceiling walls. There is a big noise constraint within the entire floor. Someone in Studio A can hear someone in Studio C and D and so forth, and it just becomes a very big distraction. It's hard to really just stick with your one professor because you always hear the professor right across that half wall, and it's very difficult. And in regards to the lighting as well, having floor to ceiling windows throughout the entire floor also is a problem when someone wants to put the blinds down in Studio B, but Studio C enjoys the natural lighting. Then what do? They have to unfortunately suffer from having a dimmer environment because of those in Studio B. So it's very problematic and a big distraction across the board for all individuals.
What did you find in your initial research?
I did find that 1 in 5 students with a disability will actually report it to their school, which is a problem, which is a huge problem. There's a lot of students with neurologic conditions that don't think their condition is severe enough to actually speak out on it and to receive those proper accommodations. So really analyzing oneself and just knowing that they have a condition is the first step, and that's where we're kind of suffering across the board. No one thinks they're worthy of having these proper accommodations. So that's something big that I found across the board throughout the entire country, actually. That is definitely the biggest problem that I saw. It's just people not wanting to speak out on their condition because they just don't think it's as important enough to the society. And that's something that we as designers can definitely help contribute to and help break down that barrier with making them feel welcomed in the environments that they are utilizing and that they're walking into and learning in, so that they don't feel so discriminated based off of their neurologic condition, and that they can realize that they can have the same proper education that they deserve as someone without a neurologic condition.
What are the most common mental health issues among American college students?
A lot of them were autism, depression, OCD, and ADD. Those were the top ones, namely ADHD and autism. Anxiety definitely plays into both the depression and the autism ADD. It definitely plays a part in all of them.
Are most students self-diagnosing or being diagnosed by a doctor?
I definitely think that most people are self-diagnosed because there are a lot of traits that someone with ADHD may have that someone without ADHD very much could have as well. For example, the ability to sustain attention. People with ADHD, of course, suffer from that, but someone without that neurologic condition can say, oh, well, I struggle with paying attention in this class or that class. Maybe I have ADHD too. And so I feel like there's definitely a higher amount of people self-diagnosing. But regardless of that proper condition, these are factors that can definitely impact them as well, regardless of having that proper diagnosis or not. But definitely a majority self-diagnosed.
Is self-diagnosis a problem?
I do think it is a problem because there are tons of people out there who do have a neurologic condition and just aren't aware of it. And because of that, because they're lacking that proper knowledge and lacking the wants to figure out, do I have this condition or not? It's actually prolonging that process to get them the proper help that they need as well. So I think it is imperative that people really take initiative and figure out if they have this condition or that condition, so that they know how to navigate it properly and they know how to reach out to the proper resources to help them get those proper accommodations.
Do you think Kean is equipped to handle all these students with mental health issues?
As far as like the Office of Accessibility, I think they are equipped with different learning strategies to help the students, such as I know there's a note-taking tablet system that they offer. You can kind of just take this mobile tablet with you to class and just record the instructor, and then you'll take your notes later on, and it might even take the notes for you. So that is something that is definitely equipped for the students. But as far as like the Green Lane Academic Building, as far as the actual learning environment, I don't think we are properly equipped for that. And I think that's something that we need to improve on moving forward, because we can only, rely on the Office of Accessibilities for certain things, certain measures, like the note-taking system. But what do we do when it comes to an environment standpoint? And we are the people who need to improve that. So I think it's pretty much a 50-50. It just depends on what like concentration we're working on. If it's the departmental like benefits, the Office of Accessibility, or if it's the physical built environment, which is where we come in and what we're trying to improve.
How have you personally coped with ADHD in the studio?
So one of the things definitely kind of self-explained, just like sitting to the front, just knowing that I have struggles, kind of like looking to the side, dozing off a little bit. I make sure that I sit in a spot where there is no ability for distraction. Make sure I can't see anyone but the professor, but the screen. And then I'll just kind of just stick to that plan wherever I go. Another thing is something that I struggle with, that I know a lot of people with ADHD do as well, is the amount of dopamine that you have in your body. And when our dopamine's really low, then you feel like you have a sense that you need to kind of rejuvenate that and kind of stimulate yourself in a way. And oftentimes it can be in an unproductive manner within the classroom. Some people will kind of fidget around, look at their phone, twiddle their thumbs, whatever it is. And so I know for me, that would be very distracting to myself and to the professor and the other classmates around me. So I'll either like bring a stress ball, bring something that I can fidget with that won't be too much of a distraction, just kind of like keep to my side, or I'll make sure that I have some sort of like seating that allows me to sway back and forth, which luckily the 5th floor of Green Lane, all of the seating is like that. Like you have the swivel like seats, so I can kind of just like go back and forth and stimulate myself in a more productive manner than it would be without that technology.
Is the layout of the drafting tables an issue?
I think that is a big problem, because we're constantly just to our space. Just when we're down, like actually doing our drafting work, we are never looking up, let alone turning around to like look at the board or at the professor. So I think it's just a strain for us as designers and for the professor as well, because really you never have students looking at you. You're just talking to their side profile the whole time. And so it's interesting you mentioned that, because the last few times I walked into Green Lane, I'm not sure who did it or what the purpose behind it was, but I would walk into my studio space, Studio E, and it would be like in a U shape instead of how it normally was in clusters. And I personally think that that helps a lot. I'm not sure like how many rows would be in that like U shape if all the desks could fit just in one singular U, but definitely having everyone as a whole face to the middle towards each other and towards the board definitely does help. It's better for the professor. He or she feels as though all the students are really connected and really like showing like face to the professor. They're really having that one-on-one. And at the same time, all of the students are going to be kind of seeing each other work and flow as well too. Something for individuals with ADHD that helps them kind of take initiative with tasks is body doubling. And so if you're not familiar with body doubling, that's when someone is just doing a certain task and you have someone doing a task right next to you as well, whether it's the same one, a different assignment. You don't even have to be talking to each other. Just knowing that you have that someone in your peripheral just doing what you're doing keeps you more grounded, keeps you more stimulated, and keeps your eye on the prize, getting the work done. So I feel like having everyone in that shape facing one another, regardless if they have ADHD or not, they're gonna get that sensation like I'm doing it, the person right next to me and around me are doing it too. So it's gonna more motivate you to do that.
Was it difficult for you to feel welcomed or make friends when you started at Kean?
Honestly, My first semester, I kind of felt that way just because of how, and this is when I first transferred here, I didn't know anyone. It was kind of hard because of the fact that everyone just felt so like separated into their own niches and clusters within the studio. Like I didn't feel like it was really as collaborative as it could have been. And I feel like again that all comes down to just having a proper seating arrangement. I feel like if we were all forced to like see one another and just like be more in an enclosed like space, it really forces us to connect with one another, to just look straight across and make that conversation, as opposed to everyone just being in their own little bubble and just like hardly looking up to the professor, like just being in their own zone. So yeah, I definitely did find it a little challenging at first.
Thank you, Carmen. We look forward to hearing more about your research.